Hello and welcome to this really fun tutorial by flomotion! Because today we are going to create an underwater scene. So just follow me into AfterEffects.
Okay, I just recently watched Aquaman. I know I'm a bit late to the game, but I'm also disappointed. If you pause at any random moment, you can't hardly tell if they are actually underwater or not. Okay, I get the point. In the best situation, you would hardly see that it is underwater. But if you emphasize it, you can indeed see it a lot. And the question is, how realistic should this movie be? Or to give you an example, Guardians of the Galaxy takes place in outer space, so realistically it's pitch black around them, but hey, you get the point, right? Why making an underwater movie and decide before the process that there shouldn't be any bubbles coming out of their mouth while speaking? Okay, I hear you. They have done that crazy CG hair thing. Okay. If you watch till the end, I will also show you how I created my floating hair with a really easy setup. Just wait for it. So let's break this down. Today I will show you what makes a scene look like it is underwater, and I will overdo it here and there just to sell the point. We start like all those movies start, in a dry room, as this technique is called dry for wet. And we will get to a final shot with the floating hair, me sitting in the studio, once we understood all the principles. So visibility underwater. You cannot see all the way through water, and indeed a cool blue fall off in the distance really sets the mood for all of this. So let's do this. The further away something is, the more it should be tinted. Would be great to have a depth matte, but After Effects simply cannot do this. Well, except you would have a 3D environment, then the 3D depth extract is what you want to look out for. But for now, let's open up the image in Photoshop. Go to Filters and select the Neural Filters and select the Depth Blur. And this allows you to focus on specific parts of the image, which is really cool, but not exactly what we want. But down here, there's an option called Output Depth Map Only. And ta-da! Let's close and save this. In After Effects, we can import it back in and simply disable it, as we only need to reference this. Now, let's create our ocean. For that, I use a solid, and with the gradient ramp effect, I make it look as if we are under the sea. And now we can use the depth map we created as a luma matte, and you can see that this is a luma matte by the sun icon over here. And if you want even finer control, let's add a levels effect to the map. And when playing with the gamma slider, here you can define how far we can see underwater. And we are getting somewhere. Next up are caustics. Those are reflections of light that shimmer through the water. For example, in Pirates of the Caribbean, they had water tanks just beneath the lights to cast them onto the actors while shooting. And I will show you a cool method later on in this video too. So, there are many ways to create caustics. There's even an effect for this, which takes ages to render, so let's fake it. I use the cell pattern effect and animate it. Maybe play with the scale and now just invert it. Done. So let's make this layer 3D. Now we can add it to the floor or wherever we want it to be. And when we pre-comp that, you are able to change the blending mode to something like screen. Okay, now the light is reflecting on the floor, but where does the light come from? Underwater, light is pretty good visible as it is volumetric, meaning you can see the rays of the light, almost as if there would be fog. So this is a big part of selling that it's filmed underwater. Again, a super easy trick to set this up. No, not the N2 Kramer one that everyone uses, that looks good enough for rock and roll, but not good enough to convince me. Let's use a preset, the curtain preset, and as with most of the presets, they look a bit outdated for what they should be, but some of them are a great start for what they could be. Instead of red colors, let's set those to white, gray and black, and also screen this on top. So simply place it wherever you want it or rotate it for even cooler results. Hey, this is already animated. And by the way, the shout out goes to Johnny, who showed me that when we were working on I Medici, Masters of Florence, where I was VFX supervising in Tuscany. Because sometimes a layer with some fall off just works as the tipping on the ice, or as a volumetric light if you did not have a fog machine and a huge light setup set. Now, as we have set up the basic scene, let's add more underwater light rays. This time, interactive ones. And yes, there's an effect especially for that. Light rays. Just place them on highlights and they do the magic. And maybe now it's time to work a bit more on the visible density of the water by adding particles and bubbles. And I once again use assets from ActionVFX for this. Well, simply because they are the state of the art for all kinds of assets. From fire to explosions, 3D assets, and even training material for you. And if you have never heard of ActionVFX, you should probably rethink your VFX artist career now. And there's also a link to their page in my description. So if you need something, use that link and you also support my channel in doing so. And you can now also see how the light rays shimmer through the bubbles and particles. And layering them in the depths also helps a lot here. But I'm still not happy. Let's add one more level of density to this. I want to blur the image in some parts as if the water would be thicker there, or more dirty, or whatever you want to call this. So I create an adjustment layer with the camera lens blur on it. And to show you the principle, I'm adding a checkerboard beneath all of this. Of course, now everything gets blurred. So I create a new solid with the fractal noise effect, animated with just 2 keyframes, and maybe blur all of this just a little bit. And now I can use this as a luma matte for the camera lens blur. And as I said before, I may overdo some of the stuff here, but hey, feel free to reduce all of this a little bit to your liking. Same goes with an adjustment layer with the turbulent displacement effect for just some overall wrinkles in our shot. And if you wait till the end, I will show you how to set this up in an even more realistic way, so we get chromatic aberration refractions from the water. Wait for it. And now, the shot we have all been waiting for. Me sitting in my studio. So let's make a quick run through on what we just learned. Create a depth map and tint the background for the first depth impressions. Add caustics on the wall, add light rays with a curtain and light rays overall. Add particles and bubbles, generate random blurred parts with a fractal pattern and add some displacement overall. Okay, now how do we integrate me? At first, roto me out. You don't really have to do this, but it helps adding more depth, and with the help of the roto brush tool, it is a really easy task. Double click on the footage, choose the roto brush tool, paint on parts you want to have, and once you are happy with your frame, you can either go to the next and correct if necessary, or simply click on freeze and go the risky way. Okay, and as this was so much fun, let's also roto out my hair in the same way, but this time with the refine edge tool. And I have rendered both of them out with an alpha channel. In the render queue, just choose high quality with alpha, because that's exactly what we want. And this will also help speed things up a lot. Oh, and what's really cool, simply mask out a few of them and place them over your mouth, fitting to your words. Aquaman, take that. Okay, now we can not only add stuff behind ourselves, but can create caustics on only our body. For that, let's use the light sweep effect on a black layer and just place a few instances on ourselves and animate them slightly. And yes, you can use your footage as an alpha matte, so we only have caustics on ourselves. Now add it to our body with the screen blending mode. Okay, but not super interactive with our body shape. So let's add a displacement map effect and use our body as input for that. And now we are talking. But what about the hair? Okay, let's place it on top of our original one. And now let's set the anchor point to our forehead, because now we can scale it around this position, and of course only in one axis. Again, overdo it if you wish. And with a turbulent displacement effect, you can dial in the exact amount of your wrinkles. And with the evolution, you can control the speed. And with the offset, we can define in which direction our hair will bend. And in that way, we can even animate it if we are moving left or right or going up and down. So almost there. Remember, I wanted to show you the last really cool trick, chromatic aberrations caused by the water. For that, let's pre-comp everything except for the turbulent displacement effect on the adjustment layer. But also hide this for now, because I want to split the shot into its different RGB values first. So I copy it 2 times, name them red, green and blue, and apply the set channels to all of them. For red, I only want red, for green, only green, and for blue, only right. Okay, now let's add the colors back by adding them up. Voila, we have the original shot. So what is this all about? 1 second. Don't get angry, be patient. I copied the displacement effect onto all of those 3. And again, it looks as before. But I can now adjust some of them, so some of the displacement is only visible in one of the color channels. And well, this is exactly what water does with light. Okay, again, this was packed with a lot of information. So which one was your favorite trick? Let me know in the comments. Hey, and feel free to leave a like or subscription. And for now, I wish you a lot of fun underwater in After Effects.